Dr. Nia Caldwell had spent years trapped in the shadows of brilliance unrecognized. Her hands, steady yet exhausted, moved with precision as she adjusted the settings on her microscope. Beneath the lens, the impossible was unfolding, cells reacting in ways no one had seen before. She had done it. A breakthrough. A treatment that could change everything. The hum of fluorescent lights buzzed overhead, a dull contrast to the wildfire of discovery burning inside her. She scribbled frantic notes, each stroke of her pen solidifying the science that could rewrite history. The world was on the brink of something catastrophic. Whispers of a mutating virus already creeping into headlines. But Nia had something that could stop it before it started. Yet, in the vast halls of medical institutions, brilliance alone wasn't enough. She had learned that the hard way. Prestige mattered more than proof. Names carried weight, and hers, despite all her achievements, was never heavy enough to be taken seriously. Still, she refused to bow to their ignorance. She had secured a slot at the upcoming Global Medical Summit, a rare chance to present her findings. It was her moment, her shot at proving them all wrong. As she locked her lab for the night, the air outside was thick with an approaching storm. But storms didn't scare her. She had weathered worse. What she didn't know was that this storm wasn't just in the sky. It was waiting for her, lurking in the very halls she was about to walk into, and it was about to tear everything apart. The morning sun sliced through the steel skyline, casting golden streaks over the towering Global Medical Summit venue. Inside, the air crackled with ambition. Men in crisp suits, researchers clutching their data like sacred texts, and executives prowling for the next billion-dollar idea. It was a battlefield where reputations were currency, and only the most influential voices were heard. Nia walked through the marble-floored halls, her heels clicking against polished stone. Her research was secured in her case, her name listed among the day's speakers. But names meant nothing if power refused to acknowledge them. Around her, whispers hummed, recognizable faces exchanging nods, backs turning when they saw her. She was an outsider, and they wanted her to stay that way. The auditorium loomed ahead, vast and daunting. Massive screens flashed presentation titles. Cancer treatments, neurological advancements, pharmaceutical innovations. Names of researchers she knew well. Men who had dismissed her in boardrooms and ignored her emails. And yet, here they were, preparing to take the stage. As she stepped forward, a woman in a navy blue suit intercepted her. Cold, rehearsed professionalism dripped from her tone. The schedule had changed, she said. Nia's slot had been removed. Her discovery, years in the making, was being erased before it could even be heard. And the worst part? No one seemed surprised, because this wasn't an accident. It was a warning. The walls of the summit felt tighter, the air thinner, suffocating. Nia stood frozen, fingers tightening around the research case as the woman in the navy blue suit disappeared into the sea of polished professionals. Her name had been erased, her work silenced before a single word could be spoken. The weight of it crashed down, years of sacrifice, sleepless nights, relentless determination, all dismissed with a simple schedule change. Around her, conversations continued. Laughter echoed. Hands were shaken in deals that would shape the future of medicine, a future she was now barred from. Swallowing the bitter sting, she forced herself to move, stepping into the crowd. She had fought too hard to be silenced. If the stage was taken from her, she would find another way. But every turn led to another closed door. No one looked at her. No one met her gaze. The medical world had already decided she was invisible. As she neared the main hall, her eyes landed on a familiar name flashing across a massive screen. Dr. Preston Hale. A respected name, a powerful figure, and beneath his name, a research title chillingly familiar, a concept eerily close to hers. Realization slammed into her chest like a freight train. Her discovery hadn't just been rejected, it had been stolen. The room seemed to shrink, the air turning heavy with betrayal. Nia's vision tunneled, her pulse hammering against her ribs as she stared at the screen. Dr. Preston Hale stood confidently at the podium, his face illuminated by the spotlight. Behind him, her stolen research, repackaged under his name, flashed across the massive display. The audience leaned in, captivated. Applause rippled through the room before he even finished speaking. Every discovery, every breakthrough she had poured her life into, was now his. The realization hit like ice. This wasn't an accident. It wasn't a mistake. It was a calculated theft, perfectly executed. He had been in the same review panels that dismissed her. He had seen her data, dismissed it in public, then claimed it in secret. And now, the world was ready to celebrate him. Her grip tightened on her case, nails pressing into her palm. She had proof. She had everything. But standing there, watching the industry shower him with admiration, she knew the truth wouldn't matter. Power didn't bow to evidence. It silenced it. One wrong move, one accusation without the right backing, and her name would be buried forever. And that's exactly what they wanted. But they had underestimated her, because this wasn't over. The applause thundered through the hall, each clap a hammer driving the betrayal deeper. Nia stood motionless, her heartbeat pounding in her ears. Preston Hale basked in the attention, nodding as cameras flashed. Journalists scribbled, and industry leaders whispered about funding, patents, and Nobel-worthy breakthroughs. Her breakthroughs. The weight of the moment pressed against her lungs, but she refused to break. The scientific world had stolen voices like hers for generations, dismissing, erasing, claiming. Not this time. She turned sharply, pushing through the swarm of people. Her mind calculated her next move. Exposing the fraud wouldn't be enough. She needed undeniable proof, a way to force the world to listen. In the shadows of the summit, she accessed her personal database. Years of research, timestamps, lab notes, formulas, all leading back to her. But even with proof, she knew the battle ahead would be ruthless. Hale had allies in every powerful institution. They wouldn't let the truth surface without a fight. A sudden alert on her phone made her stomach drop. Access denied. Panic surged through her veins. She tried again. Same result. Her files, her life's work, were being locked, erased. Someone was inside her system. Then another message appeared. One sentence, cold, ominous. Walk away while you still can. The theft wasn't just about credit. It was about control. And someone was willing to destroy everything to keep it. The screen flickered, the message burning into Nia's mind. Walk away while you still can. A warning, a threat. Proof that she wasn't just up against a thief. She was up against a system that had already decided she didn't belong. Her fingers moved rapidly across the keyboard, heart pounding. Every attempt to retrieve her files met the same resistance. Access denied. Someone wasn't just stealing her work. They were erasing her existence from the scientific world. Cold realization gripped her. If they controlled the data, they controlled the narrative. By the time she fought back, it would be too late. She needed a backup. Her encrypted hard drive, her insurance policy against exactly this kind of betrayal, was locked in her hotel safe. If she could reach it before they did, she had a chance. Stepping into the hallway, she forced herself to walk, not run. Eyes followed her. Conversations paused as she passed. They knew. Some of them had planned this. As she neared the exit, a figure blocked her path. A security badge glinted under the lights. Not a random guard. Someone sent for her. Behind her, a second figure stepped forward. Trapped. They weren't just stealing her work. They were making sure she disappeared with it. The air thickened, pressing against Naya like an invisible force. The guards weren't random. Their eyes, sharp and unwavering, carried silent orders. She wasn't meant to leave. A slow exhale steadied her pulse. She had spent years in rooms like this, underestimated, dismissed, ignored. But fear had never been her weakness. Hesitation was. A single step backward, and the second guard mirrored her movement, sealing the space between them. Options narrowed. Every second wasted was another chance for them to erase her name, bury her work, rewrite history without her. Her mind calculated. No direct confrontation. She wasn't here to fight. She was here to win. A glance to the side. An exit sign glowing above a hallway. 20 feet. A sudden shift in the crowd behind her. A distraction. A moment of hesitation from the guards. She moved. Fast. The sharp click of her heels against the marble floor echoed as she slipped through the gap, heart hammering. 15 feet. A call behind her. 10. Footsteps closing in. 5. She turned a corner sharply, disappearing into a service hallway. The hum of industrial lights vibrated above. No time to celebrate. They wouldn't stop. A door ahead. She pushed through. The cold air of the city night hit her lungs. Freedom. Then, a black car screeched to a stop in front of her. She wasn't running fast enough. The car's tires screeched, the scent of burning rubber slicing through the cold night air. Nia's breath hitched. Too fast. Too precise. This wasn't coincidence. Her body tensed, instincts screaming. The doors weren't locked. They were waiting. A trap disguised as an escape. The guards had been the first warning. This was the second. She spun on her heel, sprinting toward the alley beside the hotel. Shadows stretched long beneath flickering streetlights, walls pressing in as she ran. The pavement blurred, heart pounding against her ribs. She needed time, distance, a plan, none of which she had. Behind her, footsteps, heavy, determined, not just one pair, more. The alley twisted, opening onto another street. A neon diner sign flickered ahead, its light casting an eerie glow over parked cars and deserted sidewalks. Sanctuary or another trap. No choice. She pushed forward, slipping through the door. The scent of coffee and grease hit her first. A few night owls sat hunched over plates, unaware of the battle waging just beyond the glass. She forced herself to breathe, shoulders tense. Had she lost them? Then, her reflection in the window shifted. A figure outside watching, waiting, not moving. Her blood ran cold. They weren't chasing anymore. They were closing in. The diner's neon glow flickered, casting eerie shadows across the checkered floor. Naya's pulse thrummed in her ears, her breath steady but sharp. Outside, the figure didn't move. Watching, waiting, calculating. Every instinct screamed for her to run, but she forced stillness into her bones. No sudden moves, no mistakes. She scanned the room. 3 customers, an elderly waitress, a cook flipping burgers behind the counter. Normal, safe. But safety was an illusion. She wasn't hidden. She was cornered. A slow exhale. Think. Her reflection in the window distorted under the neon haze, but his, unmoving, solid, too deliberate. She turned toward the counter, every muscle resisting the urge to sprint. The waitress barely glanced up as Naya grabbed a napkin, hands steady, mind racing. A plan formed. Risky, desperate, but it was all she had. A flick of the wrist. The napkin slipped from her fingers, floating toward the floor. She crouched, a split-second shield from his view. In that moment, she moved. Fast. A sharp pivot, a dash toward the back exit. The hinges groaned as she pushed through, night air slamming into her lungs. Silence. Then, footsteps. Close. Too close. They hadn't just followed. They had expected this. The alley swallowed her in darkness, the neon glow of the diner fading behind. The scent of damp pavement and engine oil clung to the cold air. Footsteps, measured, patient, echoed behind her. They weren't running. They knew she had nowhere to go. Her breath sharpened, mind racing. The alley stretched ahead, narrowing into an intersection of rusted fire escapes and locked doors. No exits, no second chances. Her fingers grazed her pocket, her phone useless without access to her files. Her proof was slipping away. A metallic clatter shattered the silence, a trash can tipping over. Not by her. The footsteps halted. Then, another sound. Distant, mechanical. A car engine rumbling from the street beyond. Hope flickered, fragile but alive. If she could reach the main road, disappear into traffic, she'd have a chance. She pushed forward, muscles burning. 15 feet. 10. The alley widened, city lights bleeding into the shadows. Then, a shadow shifted ahead. A figure emerged, blocking the way. Not one of the pursuers. Someone new. Someone waiting. The air turned electric. Had she escaped one trap only to land in another? Behind her, the footsteps resumed, closer this time. She wasn't running anymore. She was surrounded. The night pulsed with a quiet menace, the air thick with something unseen yet undeniable. Trapped. A pursuer behind. An unknown figure ahead. Every path led to danger. The figure in front of her didn't move, standing unnaturally still, waiting, watching. The dim city lights cast shadows across his face, obscuring features, but not intent. Nia's mind calculated. Could she outrun both threats? Number, could she outthink them? She had to. A flicker of motion. The man's head tilted, just enough to acknowledge her presence. Not an immediate attack. A signal? A test? Behind her, the footsteps slowed. They saw him too. A shift in power. Whoever he was, he changed the equation. Naya took a step sideways, body coiled to react. The man's posture remained steady, but his hand twitched, a barely noticeable movement. Was he warning her, or warning them? The air buzzed with unspoken tension. Then, a decision. The pursuers behind her stopped completely. No more footsteps, no breath, just stillness. Then, like shadows dissolving into night, they vanished. Naya's stomach twisted. They weren't retreating, they were adjusting, and the man in front of her? He was no longer blocking her path. He was waiting for her to follow. The city buzzed around her, but in this moment, everything else faded. The man stood firm, his presence an unspoken command. Follow. Not a request, not a threat, just inevitability. Nia's pulse pounded against her ribs. Who was he? The pursuers had disappeared the moment he arrived, dissolving into the night like ghosts. That meant something. Her options were few. Run and risk falling straight into another trap. Stay and let the unknown consume her. or follow him and step into the mystery before it swallowed her whole. Her feet moved before her mind made the choice. One step, then another. The man turned, slipping into the city's veins, and she followed, silent, wary, but committed. The streets narrowed, shifting from neon-lit avenues to quieter, darker corners. The hum of traffic became distant, drowned beneath the whisper of something deeper. This was deliberate, a path only he knew. A door loomed ahead, unmarked, unremarkable. He pushed it open, revealing nothing but shadows inside. An invitation, a challenge, a warning. Naya hesitated, the threshold between the life she knew and the truth she had yet to face. Then, she stepped through. The door clicked shut behind her. No turning back. Darkness swallowed her whole. The air inside was thick, heavy with something more than just silence. Secrets lived here. A single overhead light flickered, revealing a space stripped of warmth. Concrete walls, an old wooden desk, faint traces of dust disturbed by recent movement. Not abandoned, prepared. The man moved without hesitation, crossing the room with a confidence that sent a chill through her spine. This wasn't just his territory. It was his design. Nia's pulse quickened. Why bring her here? Why not finish whatever this was back in the alley? Questions churned, but answers lay in the space between his movements. The way he reached for a small device, pressing a button. A screen crackled to life. Surveillance footage. Not of the city, not of random streets, her. Every step she had taken, every escape, every desperate attempt to outmaneuver her pursuers, it had all been watched, recorded, tracked. A chill coiled in her gut. She hadn't been running from them. She had been led. The realization hit like a thunderclap. Every move she made wasn't just anticipated. It was orchestrated. And now, standing in this cold, calculated room, she was exactly where they wanted her. The screen glowed, illuminating her face in fractured light. Each frame, each captured moment of her life, stripped away the illusion of control. Every alley she had turned down, every second she thought she had gained, it had never been her game to win. The man remained still, a silent presence against the hum of surveillance. He had been expecting her. Nia's breath shallowed, her mind sifting through possibilities. Had they planned for her to discover the truth? Or had she pushed too far, too fast? Then, movement. The screen flickered. A new image. Not her, someone else. Familiar eyes stared back. Her mentor. The only person who had ever believed in her work. But he wasn't in a lab. He was restrained. Eyes sharp, but body still. The footage played in real time. The timestamp screaming one undeniable fact. This wasn't the past. It was happening now. A cold, brutal certainty settled in her bones. This was her leverage, her punishment. The man stepped aside, revealing something behind him. A door, unlocked, open, not an escape, an ultimatum. Walk through, and the game changed. Stay, and it ended here. Her fingers curled into fists. There was no choice. She stepped forward. The door swallowed her into another world. Dim light buzzed overhead, casting elongated shadows on sterile walls. A laboratory, but not the kind she knew. No glass panels, no signs of research. This place wasn't built for discovery. It was built for control. Monitors lined the walls, graphs and equations shifting in real time. Her work, her formulas, the calculations she had spent years perfecting. But something was wrong. The data had been altered, twisted into something unrecognizable. A chill settled in her bones. They weren't trying to bury her research. They were using it. A figure slumped against a chair in the center of the room. Her mentor. Weak but alive. His wrists bore faint impressions of restraints. Not just a hostage, a prisoner. Her breath hitched as she stepped closer. The numbers on the screen changed. Faster, more erratic. Recognition slammed into her like a tidal wave. This wasn't just an experiment. It was an activation. And she had just triggered it. Alarms erupted, red lights flashing against the cold walls. The door behind her locked with a mechanical hiss. The countdown had begun. She hadn't walked into a trap. She had walked into a ticking bomb. The sirens howled, shrieking through the sterile air. A warning, a countdown, a point of no return. The screen pulsed with fractured data, numbers spiraling into chaos. Her work, repurposed, corrupted. It wasn't meant for this. It wasn't meant to be a weapon. And yet, here it was, seconds from detonation. Her mentor stirred, his fingers twitching as if caught between consciousness and oblivion. Not dead. Not safe either. The walls seemed to close in, the fluorescent lights overhead flickering like a dying heartbeat. She had seconds, not minutes. Her mind raced, breaking through panic, through fear. The system had been rewritten, but her fingerprints were still in the code. If she had built it once, she could dismantle it. She lunged for the console, hands flying over the keys, bypass the firewalls, override the protocol, shut it down before... A warning flashed. Too late. The screen bled red as the final sequence locked in place. A mechanical hiss filled the air. Not an explosion. Something worse. The vents above opened. A silent release. It wasn't a bomb. It was a gas. And she had just trapped herself inside. The gas slithered through the vents, an invisible threat curling through the sterile air. Silent, unforgiving. Nia's pulse slammed against her ribs. No scent, no color, no way to measure how much time she had left. Her mentor's breathing hitched, shallow and uneven. He had been exposed longer. She had seconds, maybe less. The terminal still pulsed in defiance, flashing its final warning. No shutdown, no escape. Whoever designed this had ensured failure was inevitable. But inevitability had never stopped her before. Her gaze snapped to the cables snaking along the walls, thick veins pulsing with stolen power. Every system had a source. Every weapon had a weakness. She moved fast, yanked the nearest conduit free. Sparks screamed, flashing like dying stars. The lights overhead sputtered. The screens warped. The sirens choked on silence. Then, the gas flow faltered. For a second, the room held its breath. Then the system crashed, plunging everything into darkness. Not safety, not victory, just a temporary pause in the inevitable. Her chest burned as she staggered toward her mentor, hands gripping his arm. They had to move. Now the air was still thick with danger, but through the haze she saw it. A door. And this time, it was open. The darkness swallowed them whole. Heavy, unforgiving, silent. Nia's lungs ached, every breath laced with the remnants of poison. No time to stop, no time to think. Her mentor sagged against her, limbs sluggish, breath uneven. He was fading. If she slowed down, he wouldn't make it, and neither would she. The corridor stretched endlessly ahead, sterile walls whispering secrets in the dim emergency glow. No guards, no alarms, just the eerie stillness of something unfinished. She pushed forward, each step fueled by instinct. Left turn, right. Another hallway. The blueprint lived in her mind, ingrained from years of knowing what they never wanted her to see. Then, a door. Different from the others. Thick, reinforced. A boundary between captivity and freedom. She reached for the console beside it, fingers shaking as she hacked through the firewall. Every second felt like eternity. A mechanical click, a shift in pressure. The door hissed open. Cold night air crashed into her lungs, sharp and electric. She had done it. But as her foot hit the threshold, something shifted behind her. A red light blinked to life on the wall. The system had reset. And someone, somewhere, knew exactly where she was. The night stretched before her, vast and merciless. But freedom was an illusion. A low hum vibrated beneath her feet, the ground pulsing with unseen power. Not a city street, not an escape route. A trap. Behind her, the facility groaned awake, lights flickering to life. It had begun. The hunt. The pursuit. The inescapable pull of those who had built this place to contain, not release. Her mentor's weight dragged against her, every movement slower, weaker. He wouldn't last long, not with the toxin still in his system, not with time against them. Her mind fractured into calculations. Distance, speed, probability. A wrong turn meant failure. A delay meant capture. The road ahead was barren, but the forest loomed beyond it. Dark, unpredictable. A hiding place or a grave. She had no choice. Footsteps echoed behind her. Too many. Too close. She surged forward, pulling her mentor with her, pushing past the ache in her limbs, the fire in her chest. Faster, faster. Then, a sound. Not from behind, from ahead. The trees weren't empty. Something, or someone, was already waiting. The forest loomed, its shadows shifting like living things. No safety, no certainty, only the unknown. Nia's breath rasped, every inhale laced with exhaustion. But stopping meant death. Her mentor sagged against her, his strength a fading ember. She couldn't carry him much farther. A rustling ahead. Not the wind, not an animal. Something with purpose, something waiting. The facility lights flared in the distance, beams slicing through the darkness. They were coming. Her mind fractured into options. No weapons, no cover, no time. Then, a figure. Emerging from the trees. Tall, still, watching. Her pulse slammed. Not a guard, not a scientist, someone else. The stranger took a step forward, boots silent on the damp earth, not rushing, not afraid. Nia tightened her grip on her mentor, her body coiled to flee, but the stranger raised a hand. Not in warning, in invitation. Behind her, the sirens screamed. Ahead, the figure waited. The wrong choice meant capture, but the right one could change everything. The figure stood motionless, eyes locked onto hers. Not hostile, not afraid, just waiting. Nia's heartbeat hammered. A decision had to be made. Behind her, the facility roared to life. Engines, boots, the inevitable pursuit. They were closing in, fast. Her mentor groaned, his body limp in her grasp. He had minutes left. The poison was winning. Ahead, the stranger remained still. No urgency, no demand, just an extended hand. Nia's instincts screamed, trust no one, but survival whispered otherwise. She moved. Fast. Decisive. No turning back. The moment her fingers brushed his, the world shifted. A second figure emerged from the trees. Then another. Shadows morphing into allies. Arms reached, lifting her mentor, gentle, precise. A vial appeared, liquid swirling inside. Antidote? Hope? A trick? Nia hesitated, but hesitation was a luxury. Behind her, lights carved through the forest. Too close. The stranger's gaze never wavered. Come. Nia stepped forward. The antidote tipped to her mentor's lips. His body jerked. Then, his eyes snapped open. A sharp inhale, a violent shudder. life clawing its way back. Nia's mentor gasped, his eyes wild, pupils blown, awake, alive, changed. The antidote had worked. But at what cost? The figures around them didn't celebrate. No relief, no explanation, just movement. Urgent, calculated, hands grabbed her wrist, guiding her through the dense undergrowth. No time for questions, no time for doubt. Behind them, the facility's searchlights sliced through the darkness. They were hunting. Ahead, the trees thickened, branches twisting into a suffocating tunnel. No clear path, no escape in sight. Nia's breath came fast. This wasn't freedom. This was another unknown. Then, a clearing, a hidden structure buried beneath layers of deception, a sanctuary, or a trap. The stranger leading them stopped, turned, assessed. A silent command passed between them. Doors opened, shadows swallowed them whole. Inside, machines hummed, screens flickered. This was no ordinary refuge. Nia's mentor swayed, his body still recovering, stronger, but not the same. A cold realization settled in her chest. They hadn't just saved him, they had changed him. The air inside the hidden facility pulsed with quiet energy, not abandoned, not forgotten, alive. Nia scanned the room, wires, monitors, data streams running in real time. This wasn't a hideout. It was a control center. Her mentor sat upright, his breathing steady, too controlled. Something was different, not just healed, altered. The strangers moved with precision, their focus split between him and the machines. This had been planned. She stepped back. Something was wrong. Then, the screen flickered. Data flooded in, numbers, patterns, a signature she recognized. Heron, not just hers, her research. The equations she'd spent years perfecting. The ones they stole, the ones they buried. Her stomach twisted. They hadn't saved her mentor out of kindness. They needed him. A figure stepped forward, their gaze sharp, knowing. You already understand, don't you? The realization sank deep. They weren't rebels. They weren't enemies. They were the ones who had truly been in control all along. And now, they needed her. The truth settled in Nia's chest, like a weight too heavy to bear. Everything she thought she knew, reversed, rewritten, manipulated. The stolen research, the rejection, the sabotage. None of it had been an accident. The figures around her weren't allies. They were architects of a plan that had unfolded long before she even knew she was a part of it. Her mentor's transformation wasn't a side effect. It was the result. The goal. She stepped closer, her eyes locked on the monitors. Data streamed faster. Her research, modified, improved, weaponized. It had never been about stopping her discovery. It had been about controlling it. Her pulse roared in her ears. She had spent years fighting to prove her worth. Now she wasn't just valued, she was essential. A new feed appeared. Breaking news, headlines flashing, a global crisis, a catastrophe, and her formula, the key to stopping it. But in the wrong hands, it could destroy just as easily as it could save. The facility doors sealed shut behind her. No turning back, no easy escape. The people in this room had shaped history from the shadows, and now they wanted her to do the same. The weight of the moment crushed Nia's chest, a lifetime of struggle reduced to a single decision. The crisis on the screens deepened. Panic, collapse, an unstoppable chain reaction. The world was at the brink, and she held the key. The figures watched her, waiting, not forcing, not begging, just knowing. Her research had been twisted, reshaped into something unrecognizable. But the core remained hers. She could stop this, or she could let it burn. Her mentor stood beside her, silent but steady. a living testament to what they had done. His body was healed, but his mind, was he still himself? The question dug into her soul. If she used their tools to fix this, would she become them? She turned to the controls. One sequence, one choice. Her heartbeat pounded. Her name would be remembered. But how? The countdown on the screen ticked lower. Too late to hesitate. She reached out, clicked the final command. A surge of power, a ripple across the world, a breath held in anticipation. Then, silence. The data recalibrated, numbers aligned, disaster averted, a victory. But at what cost? The doors unsealed, the air shifted. Freedom or a cage? She wasn't sure anymore. As she stepped outside, the sun rose over a changed world, and Nia was no longer just a scientist. She was the one who decided who got to survive.